This is a Rough Tiger production.
And you, and you, and you, and you were there. Some of it wasn't very nice, but most of it was beautiful.
Hola.
Top of the evening to you, Bryan. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
And when I said hola, I meant that whatever the Irish equivalent of that is.
There and go, brah. It is. We are recording on St. Patrick's Day. In case you mistook that for something else.
And your accent is spot on. I have to tell you, I won't even try. Mine's so terrible.
Happy St. Patty's for you folks who are out there celebrating. And if you're out there celebrating St. Patrick's Day, are you really Irish? I don't know. I don't get the sense that a lot of Irish people actually celebrate over in the old country, but I really don't know for sure. So welcome to Dream Idiots, everybody.
Correct. Yep, welcome back. Thanks for listening. We're back again for we're already up to episode 61.
And that's a prime number, which is always a good thing. We've been busy writing, getting things together, and I don't have any real updates per se, Bryan. We've been watching a couple of great days of the greatest sporting event in the world, March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got through listening to Purdue get
spanked.
Yeah. So I guess I should have had Purdue at some point in the college rhyming game. I wish I'd had that in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's really hard to rhyme with Boilermaker.
You got any updates?
I don't. I'm saving a couple updates. We keep talking about. I've mentioned before that we're going to try to roll out maybe some premium content or something. So I'm saving a couple things I'm going to hold back and use down the road. So no major updates this week. Although we did hit 500 followers on Instagram a few days ago, which is nice. Which is sort of peculiar because it looks all the world like at least half of the folks that are following our Instagram are other podcasts, which I don't really understand why you do that. But thank you. We appreciate we appreciate that. The one thing I was going to make the follow-up request last week, I did more stupid, ridiculous idioms from all over the world, and then I posted. I put up the call at the end of that episode, and then on Facebook as well, and maybe Instagram. I don't recall. Asking that folks send in if you have a family phrase or a regional idiom or something that's bizarre and random and hilarious. I've already gotten like a half dozen. You can send those in, and I will use those to torture Morris down the road. You can just send those to dreamidiotspodcast@gmail.com, and I will file those away and make his life awful at some date down the road.
I was thinking about the movie I think it's Accidental Tourist with William Hurt. Is that the movie where he and his siblings play a card game called Hospital and they throw out cards and they're like syringe, bedpan, and they have all these code names for. And I'm like, what is that game and how do they play it? And apparently they've always played it as a family. Anyway, yeah, stuff like that'd be great to hear. I love stuff like that where your family has certain words for stuff. And
all right.
And
Morris offered us the expression "getting what Lauderstein got," and the one that my family had a whole bunch one time when I'm sure it was the 70s. We were trying to before GPS, we were following terrible instructions to some house near Canyon Lake and got lost in New Braunfels and wound up going around the square into Braunfels 3 times and couldn't figure out which road to take off the square. We went around. Was that it? Is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Is that it? And so for years afterwards, I would make the joke of if you were seeking clarity on something and couldn't find it, well, maybe he had to drive around the square 3 times, and suddenly the answer would come to you. That was one that we had that I thought was fairly amusing as a
That's
kid.
a good one.
Yeah. So So send those in, and keep doing what you're doing in terms of liking and sharing and subscribing. We appreciate it. And shoot us 5 stars and give us a review if you get a chance. That helps us. It does something for us. Helps us climb the charts or do something. It's good things happen when people give us 5 stars.
And it is an odd number, and Bryan, that means you get to go first this week.
All righty. So we are going to, I don't know, let's use your imagination. Pretend it's the year 1890 or so, and you are living somewhere in Europe, and you are not necessarily loving your life, and you were looking for new opportunities. And so you decide to cast your lot with the Americans, and you're going to leave Ireland or Poland or Denmark or wherever you may have been in Europe, and you're going to cross the Atlantic.
I can do that, Bryan. I can do that for you. I'm in Ireland. I'm in Cork.
There you go. Cork is where treats come from, apparently. And so you decide you're going to hop on a boat, and you're going to cross the ocean and sail across. And the first artificial structure you see is what?
In 1890.
1890.
Whoa.
You see shoreline. You see other boats. Although I'm not sure how much like ship travel. Hard to know how many other vessels.
You'd see a lighthouse, I guess.
You might see some. I guess you might see a lighthouse. What's a more unique structure that you might have an eye out for, that you might see first?
The Statue of Liberty.
There's where you're wrong.
I'm throwing myself overboard.
So as you're coming, basically down Long Island, there was a structure that you would come to before the Statue of Liberty, called the Elephantine Colossus, the Colossal Elephant, or the Elephant Hotel. The Elephant Hotel was a tourist attraction, a structure. It was out on Coney Island in Brooklyn, and it was built in 1885, 2 years before the Statue of Liberty. It was built in the shape of an elephant as basically one of the earliest examples of novelty, what they called novelty architecture. It was 7 stories high.
Holy shit.
So it's larger than the Statue of Liberty. Designed by a guy named James Lafferty, stood at the corner of Surf Avenue and West 12th Street, and had 31 rooms. It had a concert hall. Kind of served as an amusement bazaar, and it was the second of 3 elephant buildings that Lafferty built. It was the second one of the 3, and the previous version, Lucy the elephant, was a much smaller version. So this one, the Colossus, is 122 feet tall. I'm sorry. Lucy is half that size. Lucy was built near Atlantic City. And this guy Lafferty had the exclusive patent for animal-based hotel construction for 17 years. I guess somehow he thought this was going to turn into a bigger deal than it wound up being. So the Coney Island elephant, again, 122 feet tall, twice the size of Lucy, and it is, if you'll actually check your email, I'm going to send you an image here for your perusal. Okay. so you can get a sense of what this thing looked like.
I'm a looking. But the weird part is he never got permission to do this. He just started building these things. Oh my God. Holy shit, that thing's huge.
So the structure on top, and I will include this picture in the artwork, online, is called a howdah. It's basically is a carousel. In my mind, in my uneducated mind, sort of an Indian style,
sure,
pagoda sort of thing that elephants, if you rode elephants, would have have something similar to this in that part of the world, and that was sort of the tower, the pinnacle on this structure. The going back, it was basically an exact copy of Lucy. This one, the Coney Island elephant, the legs were 18 feet in diameter. The front legs served as a cigar store. Back legs were the entrance. So one leg kind of had a circular stairway going up, and the other leg sort of had a foyer and the basic entrance. Cost about 65 grand to build, just generally as a tourist attraction. So they had novelty stalls, an art gallery, a big grand hall that took up most of the third floor. There was an art museum that housed what would have been approximately the space that was the elephant's left lung. The elephant's eyes contained telescopes and were basically an observatory. And apparently one of the managers at one point claimed that you could see Yellowstone Park and Rio de Janeiro from this thing, which of course you could not. But again, it was built 2 years before the Statue of Liberty, contained 3.5 million feet of lumber. And so this is an area, Coney Island, then as is now, is it's tourism and leisure and kind of kitschy things like this. The place kind of falls into disrepair a little bit. For a certain period of time, the elephant itself actually served as a brothel, which doesn't seem like a smart idea. Let's engage in illegal activity in the most conspicuous building for 1,000 miles in any direction. But so was a brothel, and then the Colossus caught fire on September 27th, 1896, and it basically burned to the ground. And it was later incorporated into something called Luna Park, and there's basically another hotel there now. The predecessor, the Lucy, still exists to this day in near Atlantic City. Lucy was actually modeled on Jumbo, the elephant from Barnum and Bailey's Greatest Show on Earth. But again, half the size, 65 feet, and is listed now as the 12th tallest statue in the nation, which seems, I don't know, that seems unlikely to me. It could still be that tall to only 65 feet. It's a statue versus a, I don't know, sculpture, maybe
building or sculpture.
I don't know.
Okay,
that doesn't seem like it could possibly be correct. But Lucy's original point, Lafferty basically wanted to use Lucy as a means to attract customers to sell them real estate out in New Jersey. So you come out, look for the elephant, he'd drag you up at the top, and so you could actually scope out properties from the top of the elephant in the Margate area of Atlantic City and see the beach, etc. So Lucy's sits there. It's unclear to me whether those real estate endeavors paid off or not. But in the 1960s, Lucy is beginning to crumble, and because she is she's well loved in the area. There is a Save Lucy committee who manages to do just that. They save Lucy. 1970, Lucy gets moved 100 yards over to a city-owned lot and is refurbished. The move only took 7 hours, but took 4 years to spruce her up. Then she reopens in 1974 with a whole new exterior. Designated a National Historic Landmark in 1976. In 2006, Lucy is struck by lightning, and apparently even for a while, the tips of her tusks were singed because of the lightning. And then 2012, Hurricane Sandy hit, and the water got really close to her. It reached Lucy's toes, but she managed to survive okay. 2016, there was a fake candidacy for president, and there's probably a Donald Trump joke to make here somewhere, but I won't bother.
I've made several in my head already, Brian.
Right.
I shall spare you.
Right. Something about fat fucks from Jersey or something, but whatever.
No, going that direction with it.
2020, February of 2020. So 3 years ago, they began allowing overnight stays inside Lucy, and Lucy was listed on Airbnb for a mere $138 a night. And it's the first time anyone actually stayed there. Again, in 2021, it's revealed that the metal skin on Lucy is beginning to degrade. There's a new version of the Save Lucy Committee. They get some federal and state funds to refurbish her yet again. There's cost overruns. She was supposed to reopen Memorial Day of 2022, but those, there were delays, and that date was not met. And she reopened December 28th of last year, so 3 months ago, and she is open now. I don't think any longer on Airbnb, but she's a brand spanking new elephant, open for tourist visits and things.
Brand spanking new elephant.
Mm-hmm. So elephants at the beach, but I love the idea of some German immigrant doing his best impression of Rose from Titanic, standing on the bow of the ship, looking for the majestic Statue of Liberty and thinking, wow, the thing looks different in person. But anyway.
Give us your poor, your tired, your peanuts, your circus straw. So she was modeled on Jumbo. Wasn't that the name of the elephant that Edison electrocuted to show the dangers of electric current? I think that was. Do you remember that when Edison killed an elephant to show how dangerous electricity was during the Westinghouse Wars? I think it was.
Way to kill the mood. Yeah. Yes. So I think Jumbo was the elephant. Yes, I believe that's correct. And then there was also. I was considering including a portion of that here, but then there also was another circus elephant that was hit by a train and then had to be euthanized. And you know what?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so I decided to skip all that and just focus on
the fun stuff till I brought it up.
Right. Thanks so much for giving us the images of dead elephants. We appreciate that.
So you said there were 3 elephants. There was the one at Coney Island, the one at Atlantic City.
They built he built a third one at Cape May, which is also in Jersey.
Right? Oh no, Cape May, New Jersey. That's right.
Yes, I think that's southern New Jersey. And then there were plans to build an even bigger one for the Columbia Exposition in Chicago, which is, I think that's 1894, and that one was supposed to be even bigger, and the eyes were going to pan left and right, and I think even the trunk was supposed to move, and it's going to do all these other fancy, amazing things. But then they scrapped it and didn't do it. But
wow,
this guy had the patent. God damn it! On
now I'm going to some kind of alternate future with steampunk elephants that have run riot over the. That's awesome, Bryan. I've never heard of that. Thank you so much. That's great stuff.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
I'm tempted to look up on Airbnb whether or not Lucy's still on Airbnb, because I sort of want to go, stay in Lucy. Wait a minute.
Well, we're headed to New York in a couple days, and the boys were just talking about Luna Park. They're just talking about
right.
Coney Island and everything. So that's cool. Maybe we'll have to go down and check it out. Although that is a fair piece to travel from New York City.
Luna Park, you might have a plaque to that,
the original,
the original, but you have to go even further to go see Lucy.
Cool stuff, man. Thanks. That's hilarious.
So, it's sort of ridiculous.
And do you have a heinous curse word that is somehow related to this?
Not related, but still heinous.
It is time for the Dream Idiots. Curse word of the week.
Curse word of the week this week is fargling. Fargling. Fargling.
You know what I want to say, and you're not going to trick me into saying it.
Yes, I am.
So I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say what I think it is. I'm not going to go there. It's obvious. I'm not going to do it. You're not going to.
I'm sure your guess is correct. No, so there actually are multiple definitions. If you went in the Urban Dictionary / Morris route, which is not the right route, by the way. Fargling is a fart while gargling. So you're right. That was your guess, wasn't it?
No, I was going to say that it was when you come out of a Coen Brothers movie talking Minnesota nice, a la Fargo.
No, yeah. So no, fargling, yeah, according to Urban Dictionary, is farting while gargling, fargling.
Okay.
And then I'm convinced that there's a character on Family Guy named Mr. Fargling or something close to that. But to fargle is to play rock, paper, scissors.
Well, that's just disappointing. That's
To fargle. Oh,
Okay.
so yeah, Rochambeau.
So I was going to say it's another word for Rochambeau.
Right,
Okay.
right. So, to fargle your dispute. I've heard Rochambeau, and obviously that, which is more of a Western thing, I think. Well, but I had never heard fargle. But this is the preface to I'm gonna do a larger story on the history, derivations, and other versions of rock paper scissors that exist all over the world, and there are tons of them. It's the exact same game, but they're different objects.
I will admit, just to show that most of what I've learned in my life has come through either Family Guy or South Park. First time I ever heard Rochambeau was because of South Park. I'd never heard it called Rochambeau before. I'd always heard it called rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, me too. Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fargling.
Fargling.
Not talking Minnesota nice. Gotcha. Oh, he was funny looking in an average kind of way. Oh, thank you, Bryan, for the curse word of the week, fargling. Is it my turn to go?
You're up.
All right. Bryan, I want to tell you all about Adolph and Plinky.
Adolph what?
Adolph and Plinky.
Adolph and Plinky, okay.
Yeah, and that's a name with certain horrible connotations.
Mm-hmm.
And Adolph hasn't fared too well either, right? Adolph, aka Adolph, was born in Boerne, Texas, October 17th, 1869. He was a first-generation American of German heritage. You think we were celebrating Saint something German's Day today, because this is the second German we've talked about, but he was a first generation of American heritage. His family moved to Leon Springs in Bexar County when he was quite young. At the age of 13, upon the death of his father was a professional gunsmith, Ad moved to San Antonio and worked in the fields of crockery and cartooning. Most likely for the San Antonio Express News. Now, that's not a career combination that you hear much anymore.
That's what to say.
Crockery and cartooning.
Not on my resume, no. Neither one.
Now, given his father's occupation, and he was inspired by the feats of sharpshooter William Frank Doc Carter, Ad honed his own abilities with a variety of guns, and by 1889, he'd had enough of a life in crockery and cartooning and headed east. Unlike most stories where you head west, he headed east for a job in vaudeville as a sharpshooter. He spent 2 years working in minstrel shows and then signed on with a circus, traveling across all parts of the U.S. and even into Mexico. Once his wanderlust settled down, he returned home to San Antonio in 1900 and worked briefly as a salesman before taking a job with the Winchester Repeating Arms Company. Makes sense, given his occupation. It was a satisfying relationship which would last 5 decades. He worked as an exhibition agent and sales representative. A 1902 trip to New Haven, Connecticut, where he probably had to eat stale bagels, it introduced Ad to the single most important person in his life, his future wife, business partner, and touring companion, a young lady some 13 years his junior. She was 18 when they met, a woman who would be known as Plinky. Elizabeth, aka Plinky Cervety, was born in 1882 in New Haven, Connecticut. She was also a first-generation American of German heritage and worked at the Winchester plant there in New Haven. Ad and Plinky's courtship lasted about a year, and they were married in 1903. despite having worked in the Winchester plant for, probably this is 1880s. So, she'd probably been working there since she was what, 4?
-3. She was
had,
in utero when she started.
Yeah, she had never ever used a gun before, but when she got married, she took a keen interest in her husband's talent and his interest in guns, and it became her own. She earned the nickname Plinky because the first time she hit a tin can target, she yelled out, "Hey, I plinked it." So people started calling her Plinky.
Okay.
Within 2 years, she took to it very naturally. She became quite the sharpshooter herself, and the married couple traveled as a touring team. And they did this for almost 40 years together. And I'm going to take a break here, Bryan, because I don't know how you and I differentiate on this, but I grew up around guns. I was gifted my first rifle at the age of 10. It was I actually got two 22 caliber single shot rifles. I took gun safety courses, spent many an hour target shooting. I also had an affinity for archery at about the same time. So whenever I got tired of the gun, I would switch over to, target shooting with my bow and arrow. I still have my Fred Bear recurve, and I would practice with a hay bale target my father set up in the backyard. I would set up a paper plate, then take a tin can, put it in the middle, make that the bullseye, and just shoot as long as I could until my arm got sore. And to this day, I have a great admiration for sharpshooters. I enjoy, for example, watching archery during the Summer Olympics. That's one of my favorites, and you have to stay up till 400 o'clock in the morning to watch any kind of
Right.
replays for those. I love the biathlon, and now there's umpteen versions of the biathlon in the Winter Olympics these days.
Right.
It takes a great deal of control and precision to shift from this intense cardio workout, cross-country skiing, to this calm, measured breathing of target shooting. But in fact, I enjoy quite a few sports and activities that involve getting an object to a target. Curling, for example. I'm a big curling guy.
Right, yeah.
In fact, I keep talking about how I'm going to go to the curling center out here north of town, and I don't. I will sit and watch darts, for God's sakes, on television. I enjoy watching any kind of billiards or pool, 9-ball, snooker. I will watch anything on television if it's there. And then consider the late, great Ricky Jay. Do you know who Ricky Jay is or was? Is that name familiar to you? He was quite the character.
Billiard player, kind of magician too. Maybe did he do card tricks as well?
He was known
Vegas
for his
guy?
card tricks. He was known for his card tricks.
I don't know how I know him, but yeah.
You know him because he was in a ton of movies. He was in an X-Files episode. He sometimes played a con man type character. Ricky Jay was well known for this, and he really had this sense of history with magicians and sleight of hand and stuff. Ricky Jay at one point held a Guinness World Record at throwing playing cards. He could throw a playing card 190 feet at 90 miles an hour.
Shit.
With a flick of his wrist. That has since been surpassed to 216 feet. But 190 feet at 90 miles an hour, that's pretty amazing. From 10 paces, he could lodge a playing card into a watermelon rind. Just with a flick of his wrist, thunk, like that. So what I'd like to do is, in that spirit of hitting things with other things, allow me to review some of Ad and Plinky's remarkable skills.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go over Ad first. At one point, I believe this was in one of the World's Fairs, in 1906, over a 3-day period, he hit 19,999 out of a possible 20,000 hand-thrown wooden blocks. He missed one of these, and these looked to be about maybe 2.5 by 2.5 inches, slightly larger than maybe a Rubik's Cube.
Mm-hmm.
He missed one of them.
But from what distance?
People throwing them up in the air and 20 feet, 30 feet.
Right.
I don't know for sure. In what the San Antonio Daily Express called the greatest shooting display ever, from December 13th through the 22nd, 1908, he shot at 72,500 wooden blocks over a 68.5 hour period. He missed 9 of them. Only 9. And he used up all of the ammo for that particular cartridge size in the city. The gun stores were literally running out of that ammo. He was known for his shootout artwork, where he would make silhouettes of things like animals and bears and Indian headdresses and stuff in sheet metal. He would do that with pistols or rifles or wherever he could. Now, Hunter S. Thompson did this too, although I suspect that his was done in a slightly less controlled environment. Hunter S. Thompson liked to go out and do this at Woody Creek Tavern behind the bar. He'd go out and just shoot at shit until people told him, Hunter, stop doing that. Ad was inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame in 1966 and into the San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame in 1999. Some of Plinky's incredible feats. She could shoot 1-inch pieces of chalk held between Ad's fingers and empty shells that he had balanced on his fingertips. She could shoot those right off and right out of his fingers. Now, how about we institute that instead of trust falls?
Sure.
Could you imagine corporate meetings where you got to shoot at the CEO of your company holding a piece of chalk between his or her fingers? Out of the air, tossed into the air, she could shoot apples, oranges, and eggs. Okay, you're like, yeah, so what? And marbles. Marbles. She was the first woman to qualify as a national marksman with a military rifle in the United States, but her real strong point was the shotgun. She was the first woman to hit 100 straight targets in trap shooting, something she did routinely. In fact, she did this over 200 recorded times. Her preferred shotgun was a 12-gauge Winchester Model 97 pump-action shotgun. She held the world endurance trap shooting record. She hit 1,952 out of 2,000 traps in 5 hours and 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Perhaps the greatest compliment ever paid to her came not in the form of adulation for her record-making and breaking proficiency, but from a fellow markswoman. Referring to her skills with, now, my source says pistol, but I think it probably meant revolver, not a pistol. Annie Oakley said to her, "You're the greatest shot I've ever seen." That's high praise indeed.
Right, yeah.
Plinky was an inaugural inductee into the Trap Shooting Hall of Fame, originally in Vandalia, Ohio, now in Sparta, Illinois, in 1969. Plinky died in 1945 at the age of 63. Ad died at the age of 92 in 1962. They're interred at Mission Burial Park in San Antonio under a marker bearing the phrase, "Keep your powder dry." And their last name, in true Paul Harvey fashion, I've saved till the end, although you might recognize it only if you're from the Texas Hill Country or San Antonio region. Tupperwine, as in Tupperwine Road out in Live Oak on the northeast side of San Antonio. And their touring posters, the first E, it is spelled Toepperwein. They've knocked out that first T in the toe part to make sure that people pronounce it Tupperwine. That was taken out in their original touring posters in a bid to Americanize or perhaps de-Germanize their name by the 1914s, right? Nonetheless, they're kind of these little, these kind of unsung folks in the history of Texas sports, and an interesting husband and wife pair of traveling enthusiasts. And once again, that kind of era of days gone by of traveling sideshows and circuses and carnivals. And again, not to go on about guns at great length, because I don't own any guns to this day. I still have my bow and arrow, but what a remarkable, talented pair of people to be able to do what they did.
Right.
Sources for this piece were the website for the Trap Shooting Hall of Fame, that is traphof.org, TSHAonline.org, which is the Texas State Historical Association website, Wikipedia. Special thanks go out to Michael Anthony Thomas. He's an amateur San Antonio historian, audio producer, and host of the long-running Music for Listeners program on KRTU FM 91.7 in San Antonio, where coincidentally I will be a guest host on an episode this upcoming May. I'll give more information on that as we get closer. You can check out Mike's show and all of KRTU's programming on krtu.org. Mike has hosted at KRTU for over 30 years. Some really smart program director must have hired him way back when. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the info on this story. And thanks for keeping me company on that long drive to Houston that day, as we talked about the Topper Wine couple from the hill country of Texas.
Yeah, very cool.
I also have this weird thing where I like to ask people, it's like, well, how'd that street get its name?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, we don't think about things like that, where it's like in San Antonio, we have Wurzbach and Harry Wurzbach,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like they're two different roads. They are. Yes. Why? I don't know.
And are they both named for Harry Wurzbach? I don't. I assume not. I assume not. I assume Wurzbach Road is named for someone else, but I don't know.
I think it's just the Wurzbach family in general, and they
Right.
are two different words or two different streets.
Right.
So yeah, weird stuff. Up here, we have Iliff Road, which one day I referred to it as Iliff, and my neighbor was like, "No, it's Iliff. He was one of the governors." I said, "Okay, I've learned something today. Very nice." And now when my little Google voice says turn on Iliff Road, I'll correct it. No, it's Iliff. He was one of the governors.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks.
All righty. Any final words besides keep your powder dry?
Keep your powder dry. Keep listening, liking and sharing and subscribing and doing those things for us. We got a boatload more content coming up here soon. So thanks for hanging in there with us.
And if you look around right now and you're in a hotel shaped like an elephant, you might have partied too hard on St. Patrick's Day. So be good to yourself. Be good to each other. Y'all take it easy.
This is a Rough Tiger production.
Bong bong.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan.
Bong bong?
Bong bong.
Bong bong. Good.